police officers see things most people never will. These are 3 disturbing stories from officers working the night shift. Stories that still don't make sense to them to this day. Officer Daniel Reyes had worked patrol in the small Pennsylvania town of Millfield for almost 6 years. Most overnight shifts were painfully quiet. Noise complaints, drunk college kids, the occasional domestic dispute. Nothing that stayed with him afterward. But there was one call he still thought about almost every night. It happened in November, during a freezing rainstorm around 1:40 in the morning. Daniel had been parked outside a gas station finishing stale coffee when dispatch crackled through the radio. Unit 12. Possible disturbance reported at 114 Wren Street. Neighbor heard screaming from inside the residence. Daniel recognized the address immediately. An old house near the edge of town where an elderly woman named Margaret Harlow supposedly lived alone. Copy. En route. Rain hammered the windshield as he drove through empty streets. The neighborhood looked dead when he arrived. No lights in nearby homes. No movement. Just cold rain and darkness. The moment he pulled up to the curb, something felt wrong. The front door of the house stood slightly open. Daniel stepped out slowly, one hand resting near his holster. Dispatch. I'm on scene. Static hissed through the speaker before dispatch answered. Copy that. The porch creaked beneath his boots as he approached the door. Water dripped steadily from the roof gutters. Police department! No response. He pushed the door wider. The smell hit him first. Mildew, rotting wood, dust. Like the house had been abandoned for years. His flashlight swept across faded wallpaper and old furniture buried beneath sheets of dust. Family photographs hung crooked along the hallway walls. Everything inside felt frozen in time. Then Daniel noticed muddy footprints on the hardwood floor. Fresh ones. They led deeper into the house toward the kitchen. Daniel followed carefully. Police department. If someone's inside, announce yourself now. Still nothing. Only the sound of rain tapping against the windows. When he entered the kitchen, he stopped immediately. The basement door stood open. A narrow staircase descended into darkness below, and somewhere down there, something moved. A soft scraping sound echoed upward. Daniel unclipped his flashlight from his shoulder and drew his handgun. Come upstairs with your hands visible. Silence. Then, thump. A single heavy sound from the basement. Daniel's pulse quickened. He stepped closer to the doorway and aimed the flashlight down the stairs. The beam revealed old concrete walls and rusted shelves stacked with boxes. At the bottom of the stairs stood a man. Thin. Elderly. Wearing filthy clothes. He looked almost gray under the flashlight beam. Sir, let me see your hands. The old man slowly raised trembling hands into the air. Daniel descended carefully, step by step. The deeper he went, the colder the basement felt. And the smell grew worse, like something dead hidden nearby. When he finally reached the bottom, the old man stared at him with terrified eyes. Not aggressive. Terrified. You alone down here? Daniel asked. The man nodded quickly. You live here? The old man swallowed hard before whispering. No. Daniel frowned. Then why are you here? The man glanced nervously toward the basement ceiling. She comes downstairs at night. Daniel felt irritation mixing with unease. Who? The woman upstairs. Daniel looked toward the staircase. This is her house. The old man shook his head violently. No! Not anymore! A sudden bang exploded above them. Daniel nearly jumped. The kitchen door upstairs had slammed shut. The old man backed against the wall immediately, panic spreading across his face. "She knows you're here now." Daniel radioed dispatch instantly. "Dispatch, send another unit." Only static answered. He tried again. Nothing. Then footsteps creaked across the kitchen floor above them. Slow. Heavy. One step at a time. Daniel aimed his flashlight upward instinctively. The footsteps stopped directly above the basement. Then came another sound. A faint creaking noise, like someone slowly rocking back and forth. The old man's breathing became shaky and uneven. "She used to sit upstairs every night," he whispered. "In that chair near the window." Daniel had enough. He moved back toward the stairs quickly, but halfway up, the temperature suddenly dropped. His flashlight flickered once, twice, then stabilized again. The kitchen upstairs was empty when he emerged. Rain tapped softly against the windows. The back door remained locked. No one inside. But the rocking chair in the living room was moving slowly on its own. Back and forth. Back and forth. Daniel stared at it for several seconds. The movement gradually stopped. His radio finally burst back to life. "Unit 12, status check?" Daniel immediately answered. "I need another unit here now." While waiting, he searched the rest of the house room by room. No sign of the homeowner. No sign anyone had lived there recently either. The refrigerator was unplugged. Dust coated nearly every surface. Most disturbing of all, the beds looked untouched for years. When backup finally arrived, Daniel brought 2 officers downstairs to the basement. The old man was gone. No windows, no exits. Nowhere he could have disappeared. Only muddy footprints remained across the concrete floor. One of the officers crouched beside them. "These are fresh." Daniel nodded slowly. Then the officer looked up. "Wait a second." Daniel followed his flashlight beam. The footprints leading down the stairs were clearly visible. But there were no footprints leading back up. The old man had apparently vanished underground. Later that morning, Daniel returned to the station and searched the homeowner's records. That's when his stomach dropped. Margaret Harlow, the woman who owned the house, had died 3 years earlier. Heart attack, inside the home, alone. The property had remained abandoned ever since. Daniel never found out who the old man was. But a week later, another patrol officer responded to a trespassing complaint near the same neighborhood. The officer reported seeing muddy barefoot tracks leading across the road toward the Harlow house. The tracks stopped at the front porch, right in front of the basement door, which was already open again. Officer Tyler Mason had always hated working highway patrol at night. There was something unsettling about long, empty roads after midnight. During the day, Route 47 was crowded with trucks and commuters heading toward the city. But after 1 a.m., the highway turned into a black tunnel cutting through endless forest. Most nights, Tyler spent hours alone in his cruiser, listening to dispatch chatter just to stay awake. The night everything happened started like any other shift. Cold air, light fog, almost no traffic. At 2:13 a.m., Tyler spotted an old gray sedan drifting slowly between lanes, about half a mile ahead. He sighed and flipped on his lights. The sedan pulled over immediately onto the shoulder. Tyler parked behind it and stepped out, flashlight in hand. The fog rolled across the highway in thin waves, while cars occasionally rushed past in the distance. As he approached the driver's window, he immediately noticed the man behind the wheel looked terrified. Not drunk. Terrified. The driver was probably in his late 40s, with pale skin and sweaty hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Evening, sir," Tyler said calmly. "License and registration." The man nodded quickly without making eye contact. His hands shook badly while digging through the glove compartment. Tyler noticed something else immediately. The inside of the car smelled awful. Wet earth, like mud after heavy rain. The driver handed over the documents. "You know why I stopped you tonight?" The man swallowed hard. "No, officer. You were drifting across lanes back there." "You been drinking?" "No." "Where you headed?" "Home." "Where's home?" The man hesitated too long before answering. "North Ridge." That was strange. North Ridge was the opposite direction. Tyler shined the flashlight around the vehicle casually. Fast food wrappers covered the passenger seat. Old blankets were piled in the back. Then his light briefly caught what looked like someone sitting behind the driver. A pale shape. Tyler narrowed his eyes, but when he focused again, there was nothing there. "You traveling alone tonight?" he asked. The driver answered immediately. "Yes." Too quickly. Tyler's instincts kicked in. "Step out of the vehicle for me." The man obeyed instantly and nearly stumbled getting out. Tyler guided him toward the back of the sedan, while dispatch quietly ran his information through Tyler's radio earpiece. The driver kept glancing nervously toward the car, not the road. The car. "You seem anxious," Tyler said. The man wiped sweat from his forehead with trembling hands. "I'm just tired." Tyler studied him for a moment. "Have you taken anything tonight?" "No." "Then why are you shaking?" The man leaned slightly closer. His voice dropped almost to a whisper. "Officer." Tyler waited. "When you go back to your cruiser." He paused again. "Don't look in your rearview mirror." Tyler stared at him. "What?" The man's breathing became uneven. "Please, just don't." Before Tyler could question him further, dispatch crackled through his radio. "Unit 34, status check?" Tyler turned slightly to answer. "Routine traffic stop, stand by." The moment he looked back, the driver was running. Straight into the woods beside the highway. "Hey!" Tyler took off after him instantly. Branches snapped in the darkness ahead, while the man crashed deeper between the trees. "Police! Stop!" Then suddenly, silence. Tyler stopped running. The forest around him was completely dark and unnaturally quiet. No footsteps, no movement. The man had vanished. After another minute searching with no luck, Tyler returned to the highway frustrated and breathing hard. The gray sedan still sat parked on the shoulder with its headlights on. He approached cautiously now. Something about the driver's warning kept replaying in his mind. "Don't look in your rearview mirror." Tyler opened the driver's door slowly. The smell inside seemed even worse now. Wet dirt, rotting water. His flashlight swept across the back seat. Blankets, trash bags, muddy footprints pressed into the upholstery. Small footprints. Bare feet. Tyler froze. The prints looked fresh. Very fresh. Like someone had been kneeling back there moments earlier. He slowly leaned farther inside the vehicle. That's when he accidentally glanced toward the rearview mirror. At first, he only saw himself. Then something slowly rose upward behind him from the darkness of the back seat. A woman. Pale face. Sunken eyes. Wet black hair hanging over part of her face. Smiling. Tyler spun around instantly with his flashlight raised. The back seat was empty. His heart slammed against his ribs. He backed out of the car quickly. The highway around him suddenly felt much quieter. Even the passing traffic seemed gone now. Then the sedan's interior light shut off by itself. Darkness swallowed the inside completely. Tyler stepped backward toward his cruiser, and from somewhere inside the car came soft laughter. Not loud, not aggressive. Quiet, almost playful. Tyler immediately radioed dispatch. "Send backup now. What's your emergency?" Before Tyler could answer, the gray sedan's headlights suddenly turned off too. The vehicle sat completely black and motionless beside the road. Backup arrived 7 minutes later. 3 officers searched the woods while Tyler explained what happened. No sign of the driver. No woman. Nothing. 1 officer searched the sedan thoroughly. Empty. Completely empty. No blankets. No trash bags. No footprints. Tyler felt his stomach tighten. "I'm telling you they were there." The officer looked confused. "Tyler, this car shouldn't even be here." "What?" The officer held up the registration report. The plate number came back to a fatal accident from 11 years earlier. A gray sedan had crashed through a guardrail during heavy rain and sunk into Blackwater Lake, nearly 20 miles away. 2 bodies had been recovered from the vehicle, the driver and his wife. Tyler stared at the report silently. Then another officer walked over from the front of the cruiser. "You said the driver ran into the woods?" "Yeah." The officer looked uneasy. "There aren't any footprints out there." Tyler frowned. "What do you mean?" The officer pointed toward the muddy shoulder beside the road. "Ground soaked. We found your footprints." He paused. "But nobody else's." Deputy Aaron Cole had worked overnight patrol for almost 9 years, and if there was one thing he'd learned, it was that rural calls were usually the worst ones. City officers dealt with noise complaints, bar fights, and car thefts. Out in Mercer County, the calls were different. People disappeared. Farmhouses sat abandoned for decades, and there were miles of empty roads where nobody would hear you scream. Aaron worked alone most weekends. Budget cuts left only 1 deputy covering nearly 40 miles of back roads between midnight and sunrise. Most nights were painfully quiet. But around 3:07 a.m. on a freezing October morning, dispatch transferred a 911 call directly to his cruiser. At first, Aaron thought the line was dead. Then he heard breathing. Shaky breathing. "Ma'am?" he asked. "This is Deputy Cole. What's your emergency?" For several seconds, the woman said nothing. Then, barely above a whisper, "She's outside." Aaron sat forward slightly. "Who's outside?" The woman sounded terrified. "She keeps walking around the house." Aaron grabbed the notepad beside him. "What's your address?" Static crackled softly through the line before the woman answered. "County Road 12. Aaron frowned immediately. County Road 12 stretched for miles through farmland and woods. Half the properties out there had been abandoned years ago. "Can you give me the house number?" The woman didn't answer right away. Instead, Aaron heard creaking noises in the background. Floorboards, like someone slowly walking through the house. Then the woman whispered again. "She's at the back window now." Aaron started the cruiser. "Listen to me carefully. Lock every door. Stay on the line with me." The woman's breathing quickened. "She's smiling at me." A chill crawled across Aaron's neck. "What does she look like?" Long silence. Then, "She looks wet." The line suddenly disconnected. Aaron immediately radioed dispatch. "Trace that call." Static burst across the radio. Then dispatch answered. Call originated near the old Bellamy property. Aaron's stomach tightened slightly. Everyone in Mercer County knew about the Bellamy farm. 8 years earlier, a fire had destroyed the entire farmhouse late one night. A mother and daughter died inside before firefighters arrived. After that, the property sat abandoned. Locals avoided it completely. Aaron pressed harder on the gas pedal. Rain had started falling lightly by the time he turned onto County Road 12. The deeper he drove, the darker the road became. Cornfields stretched endlessly on both sides beneath the moonlight. Dead stalks rattled softly in the wind. No houses. No lights. Nothing. Finally, Aaron spotted the old dirt driveway leading toward the Bellamy property. His headlights illuminated a rusted mailbox, leaning sideways near the entrance. He stopped the cruiser for a moment. Something felt wrong immediately. The farmhouse at the end of the driveway looked completely dark. No lights inside, no movement. But there was definitely a house standing there. Dispatch had said the property burned down years ago. Aaron grabbed his flashlight and stepped out slowly. Cold wind swept through the cornfields around him. Sheriff's Department. No response. He approached the porch carefully. The front door hung slightly open. Aaron noticed muddy footprints leading inside. Bare feet. Fresh. He drew his handgun. Hello? The house smelled old and damp. Dust coated the furniture and walls, but strangely, everything still looked lived in. Family photos remained hanging above the fireplace. A couch sat near the television, with a folded blanket draped over one arm. It looked less like an abandoned house, and more like someone had simply vanished one day and never returned. Aaron checked the kitchen first. Empty. The dining room. Empty. Then he heard it. Crying. Soft crying from upstairs. Aaron froze. It sounded like a woman quietly sobbing. "Ma'am?" he called. The crying stopped instantly. Silence swallowed the house again. Aaron slowly climbed the stairs. Every step creaked loudly beneath his boots. At the top of the staircase stretched a narrow hallway lined with old family portraits. One bedroom door stood open at the far end. Aaron moved toward it cautiously. Then his shoulder radio exploded with static so loud it nearly made him jump. "Cole!" The voice barely came through. "Leave!" Static drowned out the rest. Aaron pressed the transmit button. "Dispatch." Repeat. Nothing. Only static. He reached the bedroom doorway and swept the flashlight inside. Empty. But the room felt freezing cold. Rain blew softly through an open window near the bed. Aaron approached carefully and froze again. In the dirt beneath the window were muddy footprints, bare feet. Leading outside, fresh enough that rainwater hadn't washed them away yet. Aaron climbed back downstairs quickly and exited through the front door. The footprints continued into the cornfield behind the house. For several moments, Aaron debated waiting for backup, but backup was at least 30 minutes away. If someone was injured out there, waiting could kill them. He followed the tracks into the field. Corn stalks towered around him like walls. His flashlight beam barely cut through the darkness. The muddy prints continued ahead for nearly 50 yards. Then suddenly, they stopped. Aaron looked around slowly. No return tracks, no drag marks, nothing. Just endless rows of dead corn swaying gently around him. A strange feeling settled into his stomach. The field had gone completely silent. No wind, no insects, no distant traffic. Nothing. Then somewhere behind him, a woman whispered, "Officer." Aaron spun around instantly, flashlight sweeping wildly across the corn. Nobody there. His breathing quickened. Then the whisper came again, closer this time. "Officer." From his left. Aaron aimed the flashlight toward the sound. For a split second, he thought he saw movement between the stalks, a pale shape disappearing deeper into the field. "Ma'am," he shouted. No response. He moved carefully through the rows. Corn leaves brushed against his jacket and face. Then suddenly, his flashlight caught a figure standing about 30 feet ahead. A woman. White nightgown. Long, wet hair hanging over her face. Bare feet covered in mud. Standing completely motionless. Aaron raised the flashlight higher. "Ma'am, are you injured?" The woman didn't move, didn't speak. Rainwater dripped slowly from her hair onto the dirt below. Aaron took another cautious step forward. Then his radio crackled again. This time, dispatch sounded panicked. "Aaron, return to your vehicle immediately." Aaron kept his eyes on the woman. "Why?" Long silence. Then dispatch answered quietly. "The Bellamy house isn't there anymore." Aaron frowned. "What are you talking about? I'm standing right next to it." More static. Then, "That property burned down 8 years ago." Aaron slowly turned around. His blood ran cold instantly. The farmhouse behind him was gone. There was no porch, no windows, no lights. Only the blackened remains of a burned foundation sitting beneath the rain. Aaron stumbled backward slightly. His flashlight shook violently in his hand. The woman still stood ahead between the corn rows, except now, she was closer. Much closer. Aaron could finally see part of her face beneath the wet hair. Pale skin stretched tightly over hollow features. Dark water streamed from her mouth and chin, and her smile was impossibly wide. Aaron raised his weapon instinctively. "Don't move." The woman tilted her head slowly. Then every police instinct Aaron had suddenly screamed at him to run. The radio on his shoulder erupted with deafening static, and all around him, the cornfield began moving, not from wind, from people. Shapes emerged slowly between the stalks surrounding him. Tall figures standing silently in the darkness. Dozens of them. Some looked burned. Others looked soaked with water and mud. All motionless, watching him. Aaron backed away carefully, unable to breathe properly now. The woman took one slow step forward, then another. Aaron turned and sprinted. Corn stalks whipped against his face as he ran blindly toward the road. Behind him, he heard movement everywhere. Soft footsteps, wet breathing, whispering voices. The field seemed endless now. Every direction looked identical. Aaron nearly crashed into the cruiser before realizing he'd reached the driveway. He yanked the driver's door open and dove inside, slamming the locks immediately. His chest heaved violently. Rain hammered the windshield. For several seconds, he just sat there gasping. Then slowly, he looked back toward the field. Nothing. No figures, no woman, only darkness moving beneath the rain. Dispatch finally came through clearly again. "Aaron, respond." His voice shook. "I'm leaving the scene." "Copy that." Aaron threw the cruiser into reverse and sped down the dirt driveway without looking back. But halfway down the road, his headlights illuminated someone standing near the mailbox. The woman, completely still. Watching the cruiser pass, Aaron accelerated harder. He didn't stop driving until he reached town. By sunrise, 2 additional deputies returned to the Bellamy property with him. Aaron barely slept during the drive back. Part of him hoped daylight would make everything feel explainable. But when they arrived, there was no farmhouse. Only the burned remains of a foundation exactly where dispatch said it would be. One deputy searched the area around the ruins. Looks abandoned for years. Aaron said nothing. Then the deputy called him over. Near the edge of the old foundation sat muddy footprints in the dirt. Bare feet. Fresh. Leading away from the ruins, toward the cornfield. Aaron stared silently at them. Then he noticed something worse. Mixed among the barefoot tracks were fresh boot prints. Police boots. His own footprints led into the field. But they never came back out.